Welcome to Zelda Universe TV, it's Zelda time! This is This Week in Zelda News. I'm your host, Bastian, news editor for the front page of Zelda Universe TV, and let's get to those top stories. We have a whole bunch of news coming from Hyrule Historia. First of all, one of the big stories was about the Zelda naming tradition. All the princesses are named Zelda. We've always kind of wondered, why is that the case? Way back in the second Zelda game released, The Adventure of Link, there was a little backstory in the instruction manual which talked about the fact that that Princess Zelda, there was a Princess Zelda who had a evil spell cast on her, and she fell into a long sleep, and she was asleep for hundreds or thousands of years. So the prince of the land, who was kind of responsible for that happening, he made a stipulation that all princesses would be named Zelda after that fact. But taking the timeline into account, that really only accounts for that Princess Zelda and then the Princess Zelda seen in the first Zelda game. So what about all the other princesses? Well, Hyrule Historia explains that yeah, that's the case. All Zeldas in the future part of the timeline, all females are named Zelda in the royal family. That's not the case back in the past. Back in the past, it was just sort of hit or miss. You know, we only see the ones that are named Zelda, and those ones are named after the legendary first Princess Zelda, and I assume they're talking about Skyward Sword. But it wasn't the case that every single female was named Zelda until Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link's Backstory. So we've got that clarified for us finally. Also, another piece of clarification that comes out of Hyrule Historia is about the game Phantom Hourglass, and this game takes place in a world completely separate from Hyrule. It's not even on the same planet, and but still in that same world, in the Ocean King's Temple, we see the three crests. The three crests, actually. I've got them right here on my arm. We see... Oh wow, this is hard to do in mirror reverse. So we've got Din, and we've got Ferori, and we've got Nehru. I knew those tattoos were going to come in handy for something. Anyway, so we see those same three crests in his temple, but this is a completely separate world from Hyrule, and how can that be? So Hyrule Historia explains that yes, this is a completely separate planet from Hyrule, but that this other planet is quite possibly created by those same three golden goddesses. It doesn't say exactly that that's the case, it just sort of says it's possible. So, I mean, we can probably take that as a definitive fact now. And of course, then that leads us to wonder, did these same goddesses create that alternate dimension or other planet that Eternia is on? That's still, I guess, left up for debate. Hyrule Historia doesn't talk about that. And while we're talking about Majora's Mask, it's now available for a mere 150 coins to Club Nintendo members, so you don't even have to pay anything for it. You just get it for free for having already purchased other Nintendo games, so that's pretty cool. If you've never played Majora's Mask, you can get it now for 150 coins. One more story comes out of Hyrule Historia, also concerning Adventure of Link's backstory, and what that is that in that backstory, that evil wizard that casts that spell that makes Zelda fall asleep for all those centuries, I've personally always kind of thought that's probably some sort of incarnation of Ganon, like his evil ghost or something, because the drawing itself doesn't look exactly like a corporeal entity. It sort of fades into into the prince's shadow in the drawing in the instruction booklet. A picture of that is right here. But anyways, so I always kind of thought it was possibly Ganon, but finally Hyrule Historia kind of hints at that a little more, so it's not just fan speculation. It just says that that it's quite possible that that evil wizard was a alter ego of Ganon's. Whether that means that it's actually a physical manifestation of Ganon, or it's just some sort of entity not really sure. They also, official Nintendo sources have called a Ganon from A Link to the Past an alter ego of Ganon, so I don't think that they mean it's like him in disguise, it's his alter ego, like a superhero or anything, but more like paranormal. Our next story concerns Minecraft. Fans went ahead and recreated the entire landscape of Hyrule in Minecraft. They're calling it Hourglass. They intend to go ahead and add quests to this and make it like a playable game, but for now it's kind of awesome to just take a stroll through the very blocky version of Ocarina of Time's Hyrule. And to wrap us up, we've got one final story, which is that over on Zelda Universe, we've got a pretty awesome contest going on. It's to win a awesome Zelda hoodie. And basically this hoodie, the way you can win it is all explained in the news story. I'll have the link in the description down below. You got to be creative, so read those instructions pretty carefully, and the way that you submit your entry is over on the website Zelda Universe. So don't submit your entry here on this channel, submit your entry over on the news story at Zelda Universe. And that about wraps us up. You'll see me not too long from now. I'll be hosting next week's this week's mailbag. So be sure to send in lots of awesome questions on last week's mailbag for me to answer for you. And check back next week for This Week in Zelda News. And one more story comes out of Hyrule Historia, and that's also concerning the Adventure of Link backstory, which is basically that I've completely forgotten and I need to read my notes. Let's see. Oh yeah.